Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Rock and Love 101 FM. I am Pastor Courtney Morrison sitting in for Bishop Steve Blair. It's good to have you all listening in, or if you're viewing us, it is that we're here every Tuesday morning from 10 a.m. until midday. And we are going to be shaking up this nation, shaking up this station today as we discuss all sides of a topical issue that may have the church, its congregants, and a society as a whole thinking, even questioning what we thought we knew was gospel. Serious thing. But what does the Bible actually say? We also explore those common and not so common biblical subjects that we're all curious about or just want to understand more. We cause believers and unbelievers to consider or reconsider the things they may have heard, studied, understood, or read. We force churchgoers to consider dialoguing on issues very often glossed over, ignored, or misunderstood. On the Rock, we do our best to show Christians how we can advance through the Word of God. All views contend here. Yes, indeed. And we want you to know the truth is the big question at the end is, can they withstand the what does the Bible say test? This is not a debate nor a dictatorship. So, special welcome to our listeners on Facebook and YouTube Live, and those on love101.org. Also, welcome to those joining us via the Love 101 FM app, downloaded from the Google Play stores or the Apple Store. Good to have you all. Do you remember this song and how we used to march in a circle in the children's church? Around the walls of Jericho, around the walls of Jericho, around the walls of Jericho, the armies went. 7 times without a stop, 7 times without a stop, 7 times. Yeah, you got the gist. And when the people gave a shout, the walls fell down. So into Jericho at last. See, me out of here, son, so it go. Want to get the gist, right? What does the story of Jericho teach us? What does the Bible say? The fall of Jericho's wall is what we're going to talk about today. But before we go into that, let me share for the next few minutes some unrelated thoughts in a piece of Courtney's mind. And when I share a piece of Courtney's mind, that's a PIECE of my mind, I'm hoping at the end of my dialogue, of my dissertation, whatever we want to call it, that you will find PEACE. A thing of note that I've seen in the papers in recent times is the concern over the deaths of our teachers. In our schools, it seems as if our teachers, up to yesterday, I believe I saw the report of one young teacher dying. I think he's a physical education teacher, dying of a stroke. Not an old or elderly individual, but indeed, it would seem as if our teachers are experiencing tremendous pressure, stress. Uh, the research is not yet out to find if it's related to home or school, but when we take a look at the landscape of what's happening in our schools, we can understand that our teachers are facing some undue pressure that should never have been theirs to withstand. We know most of our teachers are acting as parents for quite a reasonable amount of the times. They're at school counselors as well, and sometimes even defenders and protectors of some students. We have seen on the social media time and time again fights with students and teachers. We have had over the years where we have even heard of teachers being disciplined for quite a number of these incidents. But let us ask ourselves the question, and I want parents to get involved. What's happening at home with our children? Have we been guiding them along correctly? Have we been teaching them how to be respectful, how to be mannerly? Yet, the parents need to also ask themselves some questions. Do you believe the teachers are the one responsible for the upbringing of your child? Because most often they seem to spend more time at school with a teacher than with our parents in today's society. The brunt of the responsibility must lie with our parents in ensuring that our children are getting the correct teachings from home. The scripture does says, train a child up in the way he ought to go, and when he grows old, he won't depart from it. Old time people used to say, good manners take you around the world. It's time for it to be seen mutually. The love, the respect, the care by students and teachers alike, because the teachers are facing a battleground. Sometimes you're wondering if they should wear an armor to go to school with what we see happening today. How can the Ministry of Education help in any way as to what we see happening in our schools? Parents, I do believe though, the brunt of the responsibility is yours. The teacher needs to effectively do what they're doing, to teach, to guide in the subject area that they are trained in. And so I'm making an a passionate appeal to parents. Let's help our students to ensure that our teachers don't face undue pressure in schools. And that's a piece of Courtney's mind. And I'm hoping it will help to bring some degree of peace indeed today. I don't know if any of my guests today would like to chime in and come in. We have with us today the Reverend Errol D. Rattray, uh, member when I was there at Jamaica Youth for Christ, and Sir Roland Gale, the brains behind. He's a gale force wind when he speaks, so we need to listen to him. Sir Roland, Sir Errol, anything you want to say? I just shared, don't know if you heard it, but let's see if you can help us here. What our teachers seem to be dying, it would seem, and there's a research out to see if that has any, it's related to the pressure at school. Your
Good,
thoughts?
good morning to all the listeners of Love. Good morning, my friend Courtney, and good morning, my brother Rick. As it relates, I'm presently engaged in ministries in the school in more than one ways. Every year, my organization do what is called an annual boys conference, going after the boys who some would say are not doing as well as they ought to do and might be expelled or suspended. And so, with the guidance council and dean of discipline, I try to see how we can make a change in their life. Presently, you will know, Courtney, I'm doing in Clarendon, reaching out to at least 60 schools across the parish, with the hope of trying to improve the discipline. I say that because our teachers are coming in a school where there are children with different mindsets. Some are coming from situation where some don't have any breakfast in the morning. Some are coming from a situation where they are molested in the home. Some are coming from situation where they see domestic violence, and some are coming from situation where, as you see on the road, some of them go and wash your windshield at night. You see 7, 8, 10-year-old, 14-year-old. And you say, your parents know you're out here? Say, just trying to make some money to take care of her to go to school tomorrow. Is that kind of scenario or teachers have to deal with, coming from different backgrounds. And so they have to deal with the different personalities and the pressure. But not only that, they themselves have their own pressure as they come into the system. So I believe that that is one of the things that is affecting our the mindset of our teachers and the pressure. And some are saying, boy, I want to go to a greener pasture because they are figuring they're not getting enough money to survive. And you ask a question, and I like your commentary on it. And it's just to say that we as Christians need to pray for our teachers, I believe. And where we can encourage them, we should. And they are human being like all of us, and we all have to die. So some, and there's a whole lot of them in the system. So when a one or two or three die, it's just a percentage of the number, and it might seem to be frightening. But sometimes they also have they come from families with different kind of disease, what you call the inherit. And so my talk on it is not because of just the pressure, but they're a part of a system, and there are a lot of them. So when one or two die within a week, we say, whoa, the teacher them a die off. But it is just a part of it. But we need to
Okay.
pray for
We
them.
want
So
to
that's
want to
my
give Roland a chance to speak as well before we go for our first break. I want to hear his comment on the matter. Roland, welcome,
Yes,
sir.
good
I know you
morning.
love
Good
to say you
morning.
love to observe, but today is not a day of observation, sir. Thanks
All
very
right,
much,
sir.
Roland.
Good morning, and good morning to you, Sir Ratri. Good morning, Courtney, my brother.
morning.
Congratulations on the performance over the weekend of your school. I don't know what school Sir Ratri attended, but
Oh,
congratulations.
I went to Glenmuir. They are more in the academic aspect of it.
That's
And
right.
so
I
we
believe they
cheer on
won.
the others.
Yeah, I
Right,
believe they won
Courtney?
Schools Challenge a few times.
And yet Kingston
In
College has won it the most, 12
I
times.
it is possible.
Go ahead,
I
Roland.
believe
Let's
so.
not get into that.
Um, Good morning to all the listeners. I heard your comments, sir, on the issue of the teachers, and I also heard Sir Ratri, and I agree. One of the things is very striking to me is that we know or we have in our minds an idea of what the problem is, but for some reason we refuse to wrestle with it. We refuse to actually do what will help to alleviate the problem. We talk around it in circles, we do peripheral things, but what some of the things that Sir Rattray mentioned, we just need to do more. I was attending a PTA meeting recently, and it, of course, was teachers and parents present, and we discussed the behavior of the children. And then, before the meeting ended, the parents had descended into shouting with each other, into accusing the teachers of things. The teachers were not happy. It was a matter of embarrassment and shame, in my opinion. We're discussing how the children behave, and then we behave the same way. And it is important for us to not only talk about stuff, but to address the problem in the way that we know it can be fixed. Don't pretend that you are helping someone with a big gash in their neck by putting a band-aid on their toe. You're not helping them. You have to address what the problem is, and in my opinion, it has to do with our family life.
Thank you very much, Roland. And I love the perspective that Earl brought, all the other issues that sometimes we tend to forget. We do need a concerted effort to save the education system. Remember, you can post all your comments on this topic on our Facebook and YouTube Live, The Rock Broadcast, or send us a WhatsApp message or voice note at 876-997-3125. Voice notes must not be longer than 45 seconds. It's now 10:15 here on Love 101. The program is The Rock. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison. Don't go away. We come right back after these messages.
Sympathy with the Coca-Cola. Party when me can't get over. Coca-Cola give me fresh soda. Juicy party man a real and roll. In a cool Coca-Cola, I'm living la vida loca. Plus the juicy party never got me dancing like a soca. Fried chicken, cook food, saltfish and callaloo. Breakfast, lunchtime, even little dinner too. Eat party chicken, party veggie, party plant, eat mega party cheese. That me need, love the chicken soup or even red meat. When me lock my eye a Coca-Cola in my jeans. Juicy party with the Coca-Cola. Juicy party when me can't get over. Coca-Cola, the refreshing soda. Juicy party man a real and roller. Enjoy your favorite juicy food with the Coca-Cola today.
Hello? Yes, dear. But just a call for tell him we get the thing.
Nothing says Happy Easter like an Alliance MoneyGram money transfer.
And we get something sweet with it.
Pick up your Alliance MoneyGram money transfer of US $150 or more from March 18 to March 28th and get an Easter bun and cheese while stocks last at select locations.
Happy Easter to you too.
Remember, head to the sweetest location to pick up your MoneyGram money transfer this Easter.
Alliance.
A member of the Sagicor Group.
Crime Stop Jamaica unsolved. 6:50 a.m. December 21, 2023. Greenfield District, St. Elizabeth. Police were summoned to the residence of 70-year-old contractor, Mr. Amos Conroy Thompson. His partially clad body had been seen half out of his Honda CRV, which was parked in his garage. Gunshots had been heard the night before, but not reported. Concerned family members and Crime Stop Jamaica are offering a total reward of $750,000 for information leading to an arrest and charge. Call Crime Stop Jamaica 311. Solving crime pays.
Ooh la la.
I see what I want at Fast Rate Super Sale, March 18 to 28. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay.
Come get your wires, breakers, chandeliers, flood lamps, LED bulbs, and so much more. You can't afford to miss it.
Come shop. Come save at Fast Rate Super Sale, March 18 to 28.
See you there at Fosrich.
Open Sundays.
Coming up on the next Campus Connection, we'll be unlocking academic excellence with ChatGPT. Artificial intelligence, AI, is a technology that has the potential to transform educational systems and make them more inclusive and adaptive. AI can also help prepare students for the careers of today and tomorrow by integrating it into the STEM curriculum and developing their skills and competencies. We will explore 7 ethically innovative prompts that can transform your academic journey and unlock your potential. You are invited to join the conversation with Dr. Sheldon Campbell, AI enthusiast, and honor roll guest Miss Diane Plummer, Jamaican engineer and STEM enthusiast. This all happens on Tuesday, March 26th at 5:30 p.m. on the family station. Love 101.
Things are going on from campus. Come on, let me walk one. Campus connection. Have to be a man, got to be a man.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we will focus on the topic men and worship. Worship can be defined as the reverence or adoration that one shows towards something or someone, holding a person or object in high esteem, or giving a person or an object a place of importance or honor. There are hundreds of scriptures in the Bible that speak about worship and provide guidance as to both who and how to worship. Are there differences between how men and women worship? You are invited to connect with us as we talk with Mr. Dwayne Murphy, aka D. Murphy, music minister, on Wednesday, March 27th at 5:30 p.m. on the family station. Love 101, The Mailbox, Monday.
Welcome back to the program The Rock. You're listening to us live on Love 101 FM, serving you for the past 31 years. Or you may be viewing us live on Facebook or our YouTube channel. Remember, you can post all your comments here, or you can send us a WhatsApp message at 876-997-3125. Remember, voice notes must not be longer than 45 seconds. So today's guests are Evangelist Errol D. Rattray and many people know him. And Minister Roland Gale, I noticed there's not a title before it, so I just use Mr. He's back with us with more insightful observation. He's a man of observing things and giving his profound opinion and perspective on what we see and giving us some facts and truths. Roland is a Christian who's married to Trisha, his best friend, and they have a near teenage son. What that mean, 12 and a half? His name is Ruel. He is a member of the Calabar High and UWI. He's also a UWI graduate, a media consultant, and entrepreneur who loves carpentry, swimming, family time, and activities, sleeping. That's a wonderful pastime. And tackling challenge. He has an inquiring, thought-provoking, and probing mind as it relates to things, but especially the Word of God. Roland is actively involved in his church and believes Sunday school is important as the morning service. All who don't know that yet need to be updated. Reverend Errol Rattray is the president and CEO of El Rattray Evangelistic Association. He's one of the leaders within the Jamaica Baptist Union Church, chairman of Hands Across Jamaica, executive member of Jamaica Evangelical Alliance, Kingston Keswick Council, and the National Prayer Vigil Committee. Evangelist Rattray has preached all over the Caribbean, in Africa, England, and the USA. His motto is, with God all things are possible, and where faith is exercised, miracles happen. He has been married to Heather Joy for the past at least 44 years and is committed to family life. Can you imagine? I don't reach 44 yet. A joke. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome again. It's great to have you both.
Yeah.
And today's topic, as you heard, we're talking about the fall of Jericho's wall. So much to be garnered from it. I remember, well, this is something I say to some persons at times, is that when we were in Sunday school, we learned some profound lessons which we didn't actually understood. And then when we got older, we stopped singing and doing some of these stuff because those are children's stuff. My goodness. I'm so thankful for Sunday school and remembering so much from them. Those are the basis of my messages so often. But let's say a bit more about the Jericho's wall. It was over 6 feet thick and 15 feet high, with the tallest tower anywhere in the world at 28 feet in height and 40,000 square meters. Walk around that wall for the day and your workout was complete. Some persons probably wouldn't make it around it. Eh? How in Jesus' name did those walls of Jericho fall? They were massive. Yes? Who makes wall like that today? Who can afford to do such a thing? The scripture records that it was so wide that chariots, some BMW, Mercedes-Benz and thing drove around on top of that wall. In your brief synopsis, your thoughts on the Jericho wall and its fall. We get more in detail. I want to start with Roland this time. What are some of the many lessons that can be learned from this story, and what do we learn about God and ourselves?
There's a lot to be learned from this account, this event, and how I would encapsulate it is to say that it is an account of faith, an account of grace, an account of redemption and reclamation, if that's a word, reclaiming what belongs to God. And for me, there are many perspectives to look at. Many characters play a role in this event, and there are things that you can spend hours talking about, whether it's the ark or the 7 priests who were assigned to walk around, or Rahab, or the spies. I would prefer to call them the witnesses who went into Jericho. You have something like the red cloth that played a role in this, and of course there is the wall itself. So much to talk about, so much to think on, and so much for us to give God thanks and praise about. But for me, just to capture it, it's about faith, it's about grace, and it's about redemption.
Thank you, Roland, for those opening remarks. And we'll be looking more in detail on some of those things you spoke about. Where were the spies? How did they find Rahab, a prostitute? So, Errol, your 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 opening remarks on the Jericho wall and its fall.
Just two things before I remark. One is that for those who know that I've been married for 47 years, might wonder if something has happened why it gone to 44. It's just that my profile need to be updated. So August gone, I have been married to the same woman for 47 years. And two, you would know that as that last year I became the chairman of the National Private Fishery of
She's a
Jamaica.
strong woman, Errol.
So very strong. Not just strong, but very strong. And so prayer play an important role in my whole life. And thanks, Roland, for your perspective. But let me just say this, that for me, the fall of Jericho speaks to the power of God. And my motto is, with God, all things are possible. And so within the realm of the impossible, we serve a God who can deal and take care of that. But there are certain things that play, yes, an important role in the fall of Jericho. And one is the fear factor. If you go from most people going to Joshua 6, but in Joshua 2, it tells you that after the Rahab had told those who came, which was ordered by the king to give us the men who came in, and she had hid them and told them that they had gone a certain way. The Bible said, before she went to bed, and I read it in verse 9, and she said, and before they were laid down, she came unto them upon the roof. That is Joshua 2, and verse 9. And she said unto the men, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea. And it goes on and goes on. Oh, you destroy the kings, the Amorites. And so before, that's in Joshua. So there, I call it the fear factor. Already, they said the men had lost courage and they are not in a mood to fight because they know they're going to lose. And so from day one, after before the wall was encircled, the men of the city had given up. They were fearful. But two is that the instructions given to Joshua, that when he went, instead of just attacking them militarily, to go and walk around the wall with the covenant. And Ron, you spoke about it, the covenant, the Ark of the Covenant, and the whole question of the role the priests played by walking. And also, there's a thing that is called the ram's horn, or the trumpet, or the shofar, that was using it, because it was when that was blown that gave the men, the people, to shout. If it was only when that was blown that they should have shouted. So I wrap up. It's a very, as you say, Nolan, this is one thing that will take you a whole year, because there's so many segments to it. And I just talk about the priest, the covenant, the trumpet, the spies, the Rahab herself, and you talk about the red cloth, that which tell them so that the Rahab could be saved. So I look forward to the discussion, Mr. Moderator, and I'm pleased that you are the one today. I hope Bishop Steve don't say, why did I am pleased to have Courtney, but I've watched your Courtney and I'm pleased of your own development.
Thank you very much, Errol D. Rattray. It's now 10:30 here inside the Love Studios. We're going to come right back after these messages. We're going to get more in detail. The walls of Jericho, how did they fall? Soon come back.
Fosrich for all your electrical, industrial, lighting, and energy needs. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Fosrich, making innovation and quality a lifestyle. The time by Fosrich is 10:31.
Ooh la la.
I see what I want at Phosphorate Super Sale, March 18 to 28. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay.
Come get your wires, breakers, chandeliers, flood lamps, LED bulbs, and so much more. You can't afford to miss it.
Come shop, come save at Phosphorate Super Sale, March 18 to 28.
See you there at Phosphorate.
Open Sundays.
New Dawn Outreach Ministries International presents Praise Pondy Harbor, Easter Monday, April 1, with prizes, music, and dinner, and good parking included. Adults 6,000, children 8 years and up 4,000, babies free. Tickets at Music Mart or Source of Light Bookstore. Call 876-871-1810 or 496-0436. Praise Pondy Harbor, 3 to 5 Port Royal Street, beside the Kingston Craft Market. Easter Monday, April 1. Doors open 2 p.m. Sale time 3 p.m.
Maisie, I noticed from the past week you look so down. This is not the Maisie I'm used to.
Well, there's a lot been going on, because almost 30 years, John and I have been married without any problems, like sickness. But since lately, sickness after sickness after sickness, and I'm really getting tired.
Well, guess what? I think I know exactly what you need.
You do?
Trust me. This is our little secret. I have something which is better than any candlelight dinner. This Thursday at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 with Dr. Colleen Beckles and guest counseling psychologist Andre Allen Casey. They are at it again. And this week, it's all about supporting your sick spouse. Make sure both of you tune in and Maisie, take the day off from work.
Would you love me when it's hard? Our lives falling apart. If the things that we didn't do long ago.
This is a special announcement from Love 101 and Love Television. Our general offices will be closed to the public at 12 noon on Holy Thursday, March 28, 2024, through to Easter Monday, April 1, 2024, and will reopen on Tuesday, April 2 at 8:30 a.m. Programs and commercials for the period Thursday, March 28 through to Tuesday, April 2 should be submitted by 9 a.m. on Wednesday, March 27, 2024, and obituaries and notices by 10 a.m. on the same day to ensure scheduling for broadcast. Love 101 and Love Television wish for you and yours a holy and peaceful Easter weekend.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison, sitting in for Bishop Steve Everett Blair. Indeed, you're tuned in to Love 101, the family station, the number one gospel station in the nation, serving for the past 31 years. Just reminding those who are listening in, if there's a topic you'd like to be discussed, even a topic that may have the church on different sides of the fence, let us know, please. And if you have the spiritual passion, knowledge, and background, and would like to be considered as a special guest also, let us know. But today we have with us Mr. Roland Gale. In many ways, like Jesus, he loves carpentry, as well as he loves the Word of God. And we also have Errol Rattray, evangelist, CEO of Errol Rattray Evangelistic Association, past regional director of Jamaica Youth for Christ, and other hats that he wore well. Let me continue to send out condolences to the family of the late Samuel Smalling, good friend of ours. Many know of him in the Youth for Christ circles. And his funeral service went on Saturday. Indeed, it's a sad occasion. So continue to say to the family, our prayers are with you, our support is here. We're talking about Jericho's wall and its fall. How did this mighty wall of 6 feet thick fall? And it didn't fall to the left nor to the right. It went straight down. part of what I didn't hear my counterparts mentioning is the youth force that was behind it, because we know adults don't like noise. So the Lord decided that indeed this was going to be a youth group that tear down the walls of degradation and separation. No, let me not preach. Roland, come now. Let us hear some more about your details on Rahab and the witnesses, as you call them. Tell us a bit more on this fall of that great wall.
Wow, it is so amazing to me what God can do. And Sir Ratri mentioned how awesome and how powerful God is, and this is just an example of it. He had done so many things before while the children of Israel were in the wilderness and when they were coming out of Egypt. And this particular incident was kind of a cementing of who Joshua was going to be, and how the Lord was going to use him to guide and to help and to lead the children of Israel. One of the things I liked about the account in chapter 6 of Joshua is that there were specific assignments that were given to each set or each individual. And I really like that because it reminds us that we have tasks that we have to do, and if we short those tasks, well, they're going to get done, but it's just that we won't be a part of the blessing. We won't be a part of the outcome. And why am I saying that? Is because the priests were given a role, and then the armed men were given a role, and then the people generally, as I read it, were given a role. So while you may not participate in every aspect, or you may not have a role to play at all times, there is a place and a time for each of us, and we have to step forward and do what it is that the Lord would have us to do when He calls us to do it. And so when you think about people like the spies, the witnesses, they had a role to play. When you think about the priests, they had a role to play. When you think about Rahab, she had a role to play. And I don't know how much you want me to talk or if you want to ask questions, but for me, Rahab is an amazing part of this account because she represents, to my mind, the 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 unbelievable and gracious nature of God. This lady was, as we all know, a harlot, and she was in a situation where she should not have been part of what comes out. She should have been condemned, if you ask me, like any of us. We are not worthy of God's love and His grace and His mercy. But because of her faith, not because of what she did per se, but because of her faith, God allowed her to become a part of the whole story of Christ. I mean, she's one of his grandmothers, I believe, great, great, great,
Yes,
great,
she is.
whatever grandmother. And so when we read this account and when we study this event, it always blows my mind how Rahab stands out as being a pagan, an ungodly person who God transformed and who God used for His purposes and for His glory. And that just lifts my spirit because I know I am no better. I am no better. And if she can be listed in the hall of the faithful, God willing, I will be
Yes.
too.
Her story does speak of grace, doesn't it?
It
She's a
does.
part of the lineage and the heritage of Jesus Christ herself. And just her statements in Joshua 2 from verse 11 going down is one that speaks of a faith unparalleled by many. She reminds me of
Unbelievable.
the woman, you know, who was shouting to Jesus, and the disciples asked her to stop making noise. And Jesus said, don't you know that this food is reserved for the children and not the dogs? And she turned and she said, even the dogs eat the children's
Eat the
crumbs
crumbs.
from the table.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
who Rahab reminds me of.
Yes.
Errol, your turn. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, you know, if Rahab had not lied, and if Rahab had surrendered the two spies, or even told where the two spies were, the story would have been maybe different and would have been delayed. Why do I say that? It's because the two spies were the one who went back to tell them what she said. That if you look in verse 11, it says, and I read it, it says, as soon as we heard the things about the Red Sea and how you destroy the kings of the Amorites, hear what it says, our heart melt, neither did any man there remain in any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord is God, your God. He has given the land to you. So in a sense, a harlot, a prostitute, hit them one and share with them the what was the feeling of the nation at the time. So had she delivered them into their hands. So harlot played an important role. But let me go on to say that
You know, Errol, just to say something, if it was today's church and we sent some godly men out, they probably would have told Rahab, look here, you have nothing to do with God and church, so we don't want to hear anything from you. You know, are we seeing what is here in scripture? She was the one who let them down by a rope.
Yes, yes.
So that they could come out and then, I mean, the symbolism of the spies saying, hey, tie that scarlet piece of cloth in your window. That represent the blood of protection of the Lamb of God.
That's right.
That should be safe. That when the walls fell, where Rahab was, remained and didn't fall. It's such a powerful thing just to recognize that even in the wall, we see the blood of Jesus being depicted as grace. Just awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah, and it's amazing, you know. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say, so important is the role of Rahab in the story that she appears in Hebrew 11, the Hall of Faith.
That's what I was talking about. Yes, yes.
All that end up in the Hall of Faith.
Yeah,
That's how
absolutely.
important her role in the fall of the wall and how she treat the men. Because if the wall of Jericho, if Jericho didn't fall, it had to fall for the children of Israel to go to the promised land, because that was in the way of the end going towards the promised land. It is because it was considered to be nobody could take down that place.
Right.
And so, as Roland said, and you have said, anything like this would call for a part one, part two. But that is us, and that is us, and that is us. We are talking about, you know.
And we don't finish with Rahab yet either. We don't finish.
Are we talking about the soldiers?
We don't finish with Rahab yet.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Probably when she was coming up, you know, just before the men lay down, they probably thought she was coming to say something different, but indeed she was to bring a message of hope. I don't know. I mean, a brethren of mine that say in a real life, you know, probably that would have been their thought. Well, we're up on our third break here, just about this time, and we want to go deeper in the next session as to what is happening here with Rahab, with the walls of Jericho, the blood of Jesus, the shout of acclamation that took the wall down. This is The Rock. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison. We're coming right back after this break.
Did you know that many of my schoolmates have an unhealthy diet, especially at school? And now 23% of them are overweight and or obese. And so one less sugary drink at my school may mean one friend less,
or two or three,
at risk of cavities or diabetes. And if we're served less foods high in saturated fats, sugar, and sodium, it may reduce our risk from obesity, heart disease, and high blood pressure.
The solution is simple, right? Act now.
Let's get unhealthy foods and beverages out of our schools.
A message from the Heart Foundation of Jamaica and partners. We're welcoming every woman with a special International Women's Day offer at Sagicor Bank. Women who apply for a Sagicor Bank credit card get 5,000 bonus points with a qualifying purchase within 30 days. That's not all. Apply for a car loan or mortgage, and Sagicor Bank will welcome you with a reduction in your commitment fee. At Sagicor Bank, we want every woman to feel welcome. Conditions apply.
Seeking transformation and empowerment, yearning for more of Christ, longing for full freedom in Him. Join us at the Caribbean Transformation Conference, April 12 to 14, West Calvary Chapel. Embark on a 3-day journey of empowerment and freedom. Take your tribe of 10 to enjoy a discount. Prepare to be inspired by Steve Goss from England, Seth Brothers from the USA, and Claudette Bennett from Jamaica. Secure your spot now at freedomchrist.org or call 876-826-9297. Experience a life-changing encounter you've been craving. Don't you miss it!
Receive words of strength from the Voice of Power with Bishop Dr. Delford Davis.
The battle of seed has been declared many years ago and is still raging. I will put enmity between thee and between the woman, thy seed and her seed. A war will be on perpetually until Jesus returns. But I know who has already won the war. I know who has already won the war.
That's the Voice of Power with Bishop Dr. Delford Davis, brought to you by the Power of Faith Ministries International in Portmore. Voice of Power comes to you every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. right here on the family station, 101.
Speak, my Lord. Speak, my Lord. Speak, and I will answer. Lord, send me.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesdays at Alive, 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. March 26th, packed with inspirational stories and island-flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the brain testing mental-sized listener speak edition. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear the powerful story of Sister Karen Mead Washington, but you know her better as Sister Ray Ray. Trust me, you can't afford to miss it. And then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit. All the summer will come alive, 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. March 26th with me, Sarah, and the Trophy One on the family station, Love 101.
Give him praise, give him praise.
Welcome back to the program, The Rock, here live on Love 101. Indeed, we have been having interesting, stimulating discussion on the fall of the walls of Jericho. We're talking about Rahab and her part that she had to play in this whole fall of the wall. Our guests today are Mr. Roland Gale and Evangelist Errol Rattray. They're both here giving us informative insights on the fall. I know we want to talk a bit more about Rahab, but as well, we also want to talk about the Ark of the Covenant that had to be placed 3,000 feet away from those who are marching behind it. That's a long distance. And also the fact that when the feet of those who were carrying the priests were submerged in the Jordan, we saw almost like the crossing of the Red Sea again happening. Somebody talk to me. Who wants to go first? Errol, you go ahead.
Yeah, what I wanted to have talk about is the instruction, the specific instruction that were given to Joshua. The instruction as written in Joshua 6, where he told him that you shall compass the city and I have given Jericho into your hand. Then hear what verse says. And he shall compass the city, men of war, go around it 6 times. And 7 priests shall bear before the ark 7 trumpets of Ramon. And the seventh day they shall compass the city 7 times, and the priest shall blow with the trumpet. And it talk about when you hear the long blast. And so I wanted to talk about the specific instruction where one, the Ark of the Covenant that to be carried. Two, the priests are the ones to carry it, not the army. There were some specific persons given that assignment, Roland, and that they should be the one who blow the on. And the old question you're talking about now, how does a people, and you know them, the Israelites, sometimes they were murmuring, sometimes they were quarreling, sometimes them, how could a set of person look at and say, isn't this kind of instruction sound foolful? First to march around 6 times every day once, and the enemies are up there looking down on us, are they spying us? What kind of foolful instruction that? Wouldn't it be better if we were told to go and attack the city? And for me, the specific instruction that were given, but the obedience to follow the instruction. Because, if we were Jamaicans, and this kind of instruction given to us, me not think so we'd have follow it, because I think it sound foolful. So I have put it in a context, Mr. Moderator, in that the specific instruction did not sound good, right. Not for to take down a city, not to win the battle. The possibility, isn't it, that the guys could have gone up on top of the walls, they could have maybe sniped out, they could have thrown some things. Think about the possibility. You talk about that the wall was so big that there's one school of thought that the wall, the thing was 20 feet wide, so chariots could walk on it past both sides. There's this other figure, but couldn't they have now decided that after they see them the first day, they put a plan of action, a strategy? So we're going to go through and go up on top, and we're going to shoot them down the bottom and throw some things and kill them off. But for 6 days, the guys them do it, and they know that they were out there doing it. So I thought that they following the instruction, and it is saying as Christians we have to follow the instruction, because if God promised you and He said you should do it that way. And the next thing is the obedience of the priests, of Joshua, of the people, to do as they were said, they were told. So that's my little take at this point on it, that the instructions were not followed, then the wall would not fall. If there was some bright guy in the area, say, boy, I don't really think that that's the thing I go work, If we should just go and just storm the city and take it, it would have also spoiled the plan. So I'm putting that perspective to it.
And probably they were expecting lightning and thunder and a hail of brimstone coming from above to tear down the walls of Jericho. But verse 24 of Joshua chapter 4 actually said that, so that all the peoples of the earth may know without any doubt and acknowledge that the hand of God is mighty and extraordinarily powerful, so that you will fear the Lord your God and obey and worship Him with profound awe and reverence forever. That's the amplified version. So Roland, indeed, could the people of Jericho be laughing and mocking those marching around the wall, looking down at earth? Could I show some? Was a sign of overconfidence? Whichever God you say you serve, don't make no sense. What's all this
sir,
about?
Sir, I love how Reverend Rattray had phrased it, and in my opinion, this falling of the wall never began when they started marching around. The falling of the wall began long before that, because what he described as the normal way of thinking certainly was not occurring. And when you listen back to what Rahab had told the witnesses, the spies, she told them that the men's hearts had melted, that they were sorrowfully afraid. She said, look here, them not having any kind of response to you because they know what happened elsewhere. And so what we think of as a normal response, here is the normal response that Sir Rattray mentioned. These people are within reach of my weaponry. I am going to attack them. As long as they're walking around the wall, I'm going to attack them. That never took place because their minds had already been conquered. Their minds had been conquered from way back in chapter 2. They were terrified. And when they came and they saw these people doing something that was unorthodox, something that they themselves probably went back inside, told the king, and the king sit down and said to himself, I wonder what them up to. My goodness, I don't know how to respond to this now. I've never seen this before. And him probably call him wise men, and the wise men go do them necromancy, and they probably were consulting their no God gods. And it is just an example of how right thinking God is and how poor thinking we are without God. Because all that has been described so far would have been a reasonable thing to do. Here are these people who are well within reach of my weapons. I am already fortified. Let me just start flinging stone and arrow and all kind of things at them. But they never did it because their minds had already been conquered.
Yeah.
And this conquering of their mind began from way back when the Israelites crossed the Jordan.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, Sir Rattray, you spoke about the obedience and the understanding of the people to do what they were commanded. What strikes me is when they did what they were commanded at the Jordan. Because at the Jordan, when Joshua said to the people, walk down to the Jordan and walk into it, you know, the Jordan was still flowing.
Yes.
It wasn't until the feet touched the river that it started to back away and pile up. So it took faith. It took a level of commitment and self-sacrifice. If me and you walking and we look down at Sandy Gully and say water rushing through Sandy Gully, are we going to walk down in there? No. I don't think me and you was going to do that. But these priests carrying the ark, listen to what Joshua said and said, you know something? I am doing it or I am dying. And it kind of reminds me of those guys in the fire when Nebuchadnezzar was going to throw them in there. They said, well, I don't care what you want to say. I'm doing it or I'm going to die. And I think that is the level of faith that this thing demonstrates. And that faith conquers mountains.
Awesome. There was something else that was happening as well, you know. The men of the camp who were not circumcised after going through the wilderness for 40 years were about to be circumcised. And do you know it takes approximately 7 days for that healing to occur? And it's on the 8th day that they're fully healed. And they're about to march around the walls of Jericho. And this process had to occur. Go ahead, Roland. I love your observation.
One question I had, and it is a question or at least an observation I've made. And it is when I was a little boy in Sunday school, I used to hear that everybody march around the wall. But reading the passage now, what I'm realizing is that it is the armed war men and the priests.
Yeah.
The rest of people were not marching around. The rest of people had their role to play because they would shout.
Yes.
But they were not marching around and being subjected to that particular kind of activity. And I think that there is a lot for us to learn from that. We have a role to play. We have to play our role. And sometimes we want to push our finger where our finger not supposed to go. Because I figure if all the other rest of people say, I want to march too, they wouldn't make it around the wall.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't make it one time around the wall. But because who was assigned to do the thing, did it, it got done well.
Yes.
Very well. We're in the season. We're in a season where if we also recognize what happened at the wall of Jericho, they were in the season of Passover on the 14th day. We're going to talk a bit more about that when we come back as well.
Right?
And Pastor Morrison, the program is The Rock. We're going for a break and we're going to come right back after these messages.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesdays at Alive, 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. March 26th. Packed with inspirational stories and island-flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the brain testing metasized Listener Speak Edition. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear the powerful story of Sister Karen Mead Washington, but you know her better as Sister Ray Ray. Trust me, you can't afford to miss it. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit. All this and more will come alive 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. March 26th with me, Sarah, and the Trophy One on the family station Love 101.
Parenting is the most difficult job in the world. Thankfully, Parenting Jamaica has some tips to help you do a better job. Here's one. There's nothing wrong with feeling angry. We get angry because we love and care about someone or something that matters to us. Children need to know when and understand why they make their care. However, parents have to learn the difference between constructive and destructive anger. We want our children to see that we disapprove of their behavior, but we don't want to terrify or harm them by the way we express it. To find out more about parenting styles, visit the Parenting Jamaica blog at parentingjamaica.com or follow us on Twitter at ParentingJam.
Music is a gift from God, and there's no better way to praise Him than through gospel music. JCDC is now accepting entries for the 2024 Jamaica Gospel Star Competition. Singers and gospel lovers, send in your entries. Over $1 million in cash and prizes to be won. Deadline March 31. Only online entries will be accepted at jctc.gov.jm/online-forms. Remember, Gospel Star is not an original song competition, so choose your favorite song and enter today.
Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Give me yummy. Don't stop at just a one slice, please. No other bun, perfect for me. Yummy. For real Jamaican flavor and quality for sure this Easter. Make yummy the bun to your cheese. Yummy. Give me yummy. Yummy. Give me yummy. For the Easter. Give me bun zeta. Yummy for me family. Yummy for me, sir. Bun to me cheese, bun to me cheese. Yummy. Bun to me cheese. Bun to me cheese. Best bun. Give me yummy.
Truth is, HIV affects everyone. Truth is, avoiding care leads to a weaker immune system. That means you could get really sick. The truth is, the hardest pill to swallow isn't the medication. It's the problems that follow when you don't take them. Let's get through this together. Remain in care. You can live life to the fullest with HIV. And that's the truth. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Coming up on the next Campus Connection, we'll be unlocking academic excellence with ChatGPT. Artificial intelligence, AI, is a technology that has the potential to transform educational systems and make them more inclusive. AI can also help prepare students for the careers of today and tomorrow by integrating it into the STEM curriculum and developing their skills and competencies. We will explore 7 ethically innovative prompts that can transform your academic journey and unlock your potential. You are invited to join the conversation with Dr. Sheldon Campbell, AI enthusiast, and honorable guest Miss Diane Plummer, Jamaican engineer and STEM enthusiast. This all happens on Tuesday, March 26th at 5:30 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the program, The Rock. You're live on Love 101 FM. A big shout out to those on our Facebook and YouTube live pages currently. Indeed, it's good to have you. We want to remind you, though, that at this time you can call our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. Your calls are now welcome. Be a part of the discussion. Indeed, our WhatsApp number is 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Rock. The topic is the fall of Jericho's wall. We've been talking with Minister Roland Gale and Evangelist Errol Rattray here this morning about the whole falling off this wall. But gentlemen, do you recognize all the preparation, not just an act of obedience that's about to be done, that went into this? At this point, after the circumcision, after the Passover, Joshua, after the grains have been roasted and he looks at what is happening, he looks up and he sees a man standing with a sword drawn. This is where he's going to get some serious instructions. And Joshua, I don't know, in Jamaica, was probably rush the man and say, "Are you for us or against us?" Joshua, a brave youth, because man, no, when I've started a difference and say, "Boss man, don't come any further. Way up to." But Joshua goes up to him and says, "Are you for us or against us?" And he says, "Rather, I'm the commander of the host of the armies of the living God." And that's when Joshua bowed and he says, "Listen carefully." And he gave him instructions as to how to march around the wall, what was to happen. Gentlemen, there was some serious preparations that went into this whole act of bringing them to the place of obedience. What's the significance of that to us today as to what we see happening with the walls of Jericho? When we're talking about strongholds, when we're talking about breaking strongholds, bringing down oppression, degradation that we see, how should we approach it? Sir Roland.
That's a very good question. How do we approach obedience to God, and how do we approach carrying out His commandments and so on? And one of the things I would say in regard to that is that we have to be intentional, and we have to fortify ourselves with His word. We have to know and we have to understand what His word says in order for us to obey properly, in order for us to be at the right place. We have to put aside all the old trappings and all the things that would encumber us, or weigh us down, or keep us in a state of inaction or hesitation. And to me, that requires, like what you said before, an acceptance of who God is, and His role in our lives. When you mentioned the commander of the army is going to Joshua, you only said that Joshua could do this or Joshua could rush him, but Joshua could have run, and many of us forget that part. Him could have run like a thief and get himself out of there, but he didn't. And we, in preparing ourselves to be obedient and to follow what it is that God has said to us, we need to ensure that we really do approach Him with the right heart, listen to what He's saying, feed ourselves with His word, and then act accordingly, intentionally, not by book up, but intentionally, with our minds as well as with our hearts.
Thank you, Sir Roland Gale. Evangelist Earl Rattray, your perspective on this one.
My perspective is that, first of all, we must be very sure that the instructions we are getting is coming from God. Because if you accept an instruction to do which God didn't tell you, then the results are not going to be
Cataclysmic.
Yes. So for me, number one, you have to be sure that the instruction you're getting is from the right source, and our source is God. Secondly, I think one has to wait after you notice that when it took 7 days, it was a waiting period for the wall to come down. It was not a lot of people want it up now. It's a now mentality. Well, and it must happen now. But it's 7 days before it coming up. So there is a waiting period, and to see God at work. And I want to say that there has to be, and Roland, you spoke to it, the faith. Has to be a dependency on God, not on our own intellect, not on our the advice of our friends, although we have good friends and some of them bright, some of them have good ideas, But at the end of the day, it has to, because can you imagine if Joshua had gone to some persons to ask for advice as to how to take down this wall? They would not have given that instruction. That instruction wouldn't appear at all. So we have to, one, I would say, be sure the instruction is from the right source. And I'm saying it because then I'm not just talking about because a lot of people have the walls of Jericho in their lives. Although there is the wall of Jericho we are talking about, then there are persons who are having serious situation. You talk about how do we break down those walls, those situations. And that's why I'm giving a recipe that we have to know and get it from the right source. We have to depend upon God because He has the power in order to make it happen. And everything that you see take place at the end of the day, it was the power of God at work. It wasn't the power of man. It was not necessarily even the power in the shout. It was not even the power in the walk around it, although those were important and a part of the plan. But it's when God activated His power, the walls, those walls, which under normal circumstance would not come down, came down. And I want to say, as I wrap this part up, Courtney, is that there are persons right now are having some things in their lives that it seems like they can't get over it. It not going fall. And I think your co-host on the program with men have a song that say, the walls of Jericho must come down, the walls of Jericho must come down. And he wasn't necessarily talking about the wall of Jericho that came down then. He's talking about the serious situations in people's life that it seemed like it did it to stay, and it cause them frustration, and it pressure them and bring them in a depression. And those walls, and you could name them, you know them, must come down, just like all the walls of Jericho. And I close all what I'm saying is that it at the right time when they shouted that it if they had shouted on the fifth day, or the sixth day, or the first day, or the second day, said the wall wouldn't come down. if when their shout was any of those days, but the instruction was the seventh day, not only on the seventh day, if they are shouted before the priest make that last trumpet, he said, when the trumpet blow, that's the time when you give a loud shout. And so I'm saying that had they shouted up to the sixth day and before the trumpet blow, the wall wouldn't come down. Therefore, we have to follow instruction, and we have to be intentional, and we have to depend on God.
Thank you, Errol D. Rattray. Go ahead, Roland. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I so appreciate what Sir Rattray has said. And one of the things that I believe we mentioned before, but I want to say it again, is that it's not our strength or anything we are putting into it that's actually accomplishing it. So when we talk about having the Jericho walls today, we always seem to have in our mind that is something I am going to do, or is something I am going to set about fixing, when it's not up to us. It is faith. It is the Lord who will eventually, in His good time and according to His purpose, cause those walls to collapse in a way that we couldn't imagine. But if we were just faithful and kept on doing what He says we are to do, the wall will come down.
If I could just, Courtney, just talk about the wall of homosexuality. Some people want to get out of it.
Before you get there, Errol, before you get there, let's please. I'm reminded of the song that says His promise still stands. Great is His faithfulness. If we can imagine I love to tell people grace started before there was law. Law didn't come until Exodus chapter 20. And so persons were living by grace. And if you want to know the real purpose of God, go back to Genesis 1. What is there? You will see it was God's grace that kept Adam and Eve, actually. That even when they were not physically clothed, He had them
Yeah.
things made for them themselves to be covered. Uh, I just want to remind those who are listening before going any further that our studio lines are now open for you to call in to participate. Your calls are welcome. The numbers to call are 876-968. You see, my headspace is at 838-832-7 or 8. Those spaces are there for us. I see we're being signaled by studio for a break. So let's take this break and come right back.
I said the walls, they must come down. The walls of Jericho must come down. I said the walls, they
Ooh la la.
I see what I want at Phosphate Super Sale, March 18 to 28. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay.
Come get your wires, breakers, chandeliers, flood lamps, LED bulbs, and so much more. You can't afford to miss it.
Come shop. Come save at Phosphate Super Sale, March 18 to 28.
See you there at Phosphate.
Open Sundays.
We're welcoming every woman with a special International Women's Day offer at Sagicor Bank. Women who apply for a Sagicor Bank credit card get 5,000 bonus points with a qualifying purchase within 30 days. That's not all. Apply for a car loan or mortgage, and Sagicor Bank will welcome you with a reduction in your commitment fee. At Sagicor Bank, we want every woman to feel welcome. Conditions apply.
Every Thursday morning, Love 101 shares with you power-packed messages, words of encouragement, and testimonies of God's miraculous power. You get all of that in the Don't Give Up broadcast, brought to you by Celebration Church at the Portmore Skating Rink in the Portmore Mall with Pastor Prophet Michael Carter. Be sure to stay tuned to Love 101 for the Don't Give Up broadcast. Get the word you need to start your day right. The Don't Give Up broadcast, Thursdays at 5:15 a.m. It's on the family station, Love 101.
Join us as we celebrate 25 years of Youth Congress on Friday, April 5 and Saturday, April 6. Friday at 9 a.m. be at the National Convention Center for the National Talent Showcase Competitions, and 5 p.m. an electrifying evangelistic street meeting at the Old Bus Park in Old Harbor. The excitement continues on Saturday with a jam-packed day of activities, then culminating the epic Ignite Worship Fest with Kevin Downswell, Orville Sutherland, and more. Mark your calendars for April 5 and 6 and be a part of history at the New Testament Church of God Youth and Discipleship Department's Ignite Youth Congress. Forward together, keeping both some families alive.
I said the walls, they must come down. The walls of Jericho must come down. I said the
The walls, they must come down. The walls of Jericho must come down, by Kevin Bailey, co-host of The Mailbox. Indeed, powerful. The wall of degradation, the walls of separation. That's what Jericho's wall represent. We're talking today about the fall of Jericho's wall, and we're speaking with evangelist Errol Rattray and Roland here today on the walls of Jericho and its fall. It had to come down. Gentlemen, we spoke about following instructions, and we saw a period of sanctification and consecration happening before those walls actually came down. And the contrast of where the people of Israel saw a terribly strong force ahead of them and waited on instruction from God, in comparison to what was about to happen next. They're going to look at AI and see AI as minions, just minute nobodies, and run straight in and suffer the defeat of their life. No one to say to them, we have heard of what your great God has done and parted the Red Sea. They just rushed right in. Gentlemen, I am astounded by the story of Jericho and all that it represents for us even today. The pulling down of strongholds, the sanctification period, the prayers, and the following in obedience to what God says to us. Gentlemen, anything else you want to add to this powerful truth of God from the walls of Jericho? Roland, you're my research and observation person, man. Errol will give us a full discourse after.
He will give you a full discourse for real. You just mentioned AI, and the truth is I had not gone to refresh myself on that particular account. But at the end, I think, of chapter 6, was it the end of chapter 6? There was there was an instruction that Joshua had said to the people, where they were not supposed to take any spoils. They were not supposed to collect any loot from the Jericho excursion. Everything was condemned by the Lord, and anything that was there was simply to be consecrated and for go to use in the treasury. And apparently, or not apparently, according to what it says there, that was not adhered to. And so when we talk about the campaign to AI, we have to bear in mind that the people had, at least in one instance, gone back on their obedience. They were no longer acting in obedience at this point in time. At least one person. I'm looking for it here now, and it says, in chapter 7, let me read it. It says, but the sons of Israel, are you hearing noise in my background? Are you hearing me okay?
Hearing you okay.
Hearing you quiet.
Okay.
Go ahead.
In chapter 7, it says, but the sons of Israel acted unfaithfully and violated their obligation in regard to the things that were off limits under the ban, those things that would have belonged to the Lord. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, from the tribe of Judah, took some of the things under the ban for personal gain. Therefore, the anger of the Lord burned against the Israelites. And so obedience to me is something that is very, very interesting. I don't think there is such a thing as disobedience in the technical sense. What you do is you obey what it is that you want to obey. So when the Israelites obeyed the Lord for a portion of time, they turned around and decided, no, I'm going to obey something else now. And then they begin to obey themselves, or they begin to obey instructions from other people. And that is what really threw them out, because this gentleman, Achan, or Akan as you pronounce it, he no longer acted in obedience, and it caused pure problem for the entire Israelite congregation. Just one person. That's one person that we know about who took the thing that he was not supposed to take. Originally, they were acting in obedience, but just one person acting out of obedience created the problem that they had in AI. And so it is a warning to us that obedience is not at this point in time or when you feel like thing. Obedience is a ongoing, constant thing that we have to practice. We have to practice obedience all the time, not just when we feel like or when it suits us, because that act of disobedience, I don't like that. Obeying something else is where we are going to meet up with our calamity.
Interesting, Sir Roland Gale. In one instance, it says partial obedience is still disobedience. I can understand your reservation in not wanting to use the word disobedience, but obedience to something else, because they say that cold is not anything else apart from the absence of heat. I know that was what where you're going, sir. And so, you know, I give total respect to your perspective. And so they rushed into air. So they didn't completely obey. And because of the act of lack of obedience to God,
Mm-hmm.
they suffered a major defeat. The things that were to be put into the treasury, or those things that were supposed to be burnt and nothing was to be taken, was not adhered to. Yes, Roland.
You know, one of the things that occurred to me again as I'm thinking it through now is how we put God on the spot when we decide what we want to do as opposed to what he wants to do. Because when those Jericho people saw the Israelites coming, obedience had come along with it. And they were able to relay all the marvelous things that God had done. And they were mortally terrified of this God of heaven and earth. And then now, when they disobeyed and God had to punish them, the people around begin to say, oh, there is some fallibility, or there is some weakness, or there is something that we can think about overcoming this particular God. But it's not true. It's because we, in our disobedience, don't follow through on what we are supposed to do. In our obedience to self or to anything else, that is where we get the falling down.
The truth is, lack of obedience to God actually is idolatry, because we're putting our obedience in someone or something else, and God must be preeminent in all that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So powerful. Sir Errol, next
Yeah.
2 minutes, anything you want to share?
What I would say is that after the fall of Jericho, you would notice that um, Joshua's people were overconfident to the point where instead of going in with a full force, hear what the word says. And they returned, and he said unto them, let not the people go up. Let us just take about 2 or 3 thousand men. That is in verse 3. And smite them, for they are but few. So what you see is that because of the confidence level of the people, Joshua and his army, they thought this was just a walkover, meaning they had now gone into their own confidence and not recognizing it is God who is the one. And the second thing is, in that passage, talk about sanctify yourself, mean clean up yourself. And as persons who are sanctified, there are certain things we don't do. So Achan went and went against what he was asked not to do, and because of sin, and I'm bringing the sin factor into the discussion now, because of one man disobedience or sin, they lost the battle. They lost the battle because of one man
Battle
disobedience.
belongs to the
What
Lord.
what it what it means, and for us as leaders, we have to take note of it, that there need to be a unity factor as we go forward in what we do, because there are those cases where once those who are with us amongst us are not on the same mind and following the instruction, it can cause the failure of the mission. And so, if I have a word to say to us, is that make certain that we listen to God, make sure it is He who speaks to us. Two, make sure we follow His instructions. And three, let us be dependent on God, not on our own intellect, although it comes into play, not on our friends or persons of influence. But at the end of the day, let our confidence remain in God. And you would have heard me on occasion saying that if God can allow a black cow to eat green grass and give white milk, and that same black cow that eat green grass and get white milk, if you churn the white milk, it get yellow cheese. And if you cut it in its is red, the meat is red. If you look in its eyes, it's either blue or some other color. If in one animal, God can put so much color. I mean, He's powerful. And if you depend upon His power, He will make awesome things happen in your life. And that's my prayer and my wish for the people of this nation and beyond. That we'll put a dependency upon God and we will see God favor working out in our life and in the season of what is called Lent, a season of testing, a season where we talk about the death, resurrection of Christ. May the resurrected Christ exercise his power. And the walls in your life, whatever those walls are, the walls that are in this country, like the walls of Jericho, we pray that they will come down.
Thank you, Errol. It's 11:31 inside the Love Studios, and indeed, we continue with the program The Rock. My guests are Brother Roland Gale and Evangelist Errol Ratcher. We're talking about the walls of Jericho coming down. We are reminding those who are listening or those who are on our Facebook and YouTube pages that you can actually call us at this time. Our studio lines are 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. Our WhatsApp number where you can send a voice message is 876-997-3125. Remember, voice notes must be in more than 30 seconds. We share them throughout the program as we continue to speak to the fall of Jericho's wall. I like that. That rhymed. The fall of Jericho's wall. Gentlemen, we are talking about strongholds. I just want to read verse 20 of, of Joshua 6. And it says, so the people shouted, reading from the Amplified Version, the battle cry. And when the priests blew the trumpet, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, they raised a great shout, and the walls of Jericho fell down, so that the sons of Israel went up into the city, and every man straight ahead, climbing over the rubble, and they overthrew the city. You know, it's a victory cry. There's a song we used to sing that says, blow the trumpet in Zion, Zion, sound the alarm of my holy mountain. And it talks about his voice goes before him. The mountains melt like wax. That's the mighty power of, you know, the voice of God, the blowing of the trumpet, the sounding of the alarm. And it says, if the watchman blows the trumpet, because here we have the armed men going before those carrying the arm, and then the rear guard is coming behind them, and they're going about, and then all the people are going to shout, and the walls are going to fall. Can you all see that? I don't know. I'm seeing it right now. Yes, Roland.
I have a question, and I am sorry I didn't explore it before I came on. Where was Joshua in all of this? Where was his position? Does the Bible tell us exactly where he was?
Whether or not he was marching with the priests,
Was
or
he
whether
with
or
the
not he
priests?
was with
Was
the
he
people.
at the front with the armed men? Was he at the back? Where was Joshua in all this? And the reason why that come to my mind now is because this whole sequence of events has me thinking of the future, of how Christ is going to come back, and he's coming back as a conqueror at that point in time. And as you say, the mountains melt like wax and all of that kind of stuff. But he's coming back in victory at the head. And I'm wondering if Joshua was at the head of this set of people, and if this is indeed like a prophecy or a foretelling of what's going to be happening. Because Joshua and Yeshua and they all kind of the same
word,
name, same word,
same connotation. Yeah.
And as I'm thinking about it here now, this destruction of Jericho, the redemption of Rahab and her family, the protection. Hey, you know, the wall was the most dangerous place to be except in Rahab's house. It was the safest place to be, although the wall itself was perhaps the most dangerous place to be. And so the most dangerous place to be and the safest place to be are almost the same, but for one thing, the safest place to be has the blood of Jesus or that red cloth over it. And so when Joshua comes back, when Jesus comes, he's going to see that red, and it's going to protect who is in the place of safety, and the rest of the place is going to be this. Did I ask a question? I was asking the question if you know where Joshua was in the sequence.
Yeah, if I could respond,
Go ahead, sir.
you remember when Moses had guided the people and Joshua was leading them, and it says that because he was getting old now and he's leader, and every time his hand went up, the victory was coming to the Israelite every time it went.
Yes, and Joshua held up his hands. Yes,
and no, a guy near and two other guy, but Joshua was leading the battle. And in the time of war, kings were the one who lead their armies out. So and why they do that, it bring confidence to those who follow. Just like our pastor lead his flock. He's the leader. And if the leader is afraid to go and carry your thing into battle, then it's telling you something wrong. So Joshua, having known that he was going to get the victory, and if you know you're going to get the victory, he wasn't afraid to go up front and lead them. And so as the leader, he was leading. And leading in giving the instruction, what God said to them, but leading also, unless, except that there was specific how the thing should go in terms of leading the army, because it gave you who go where, what go where. The Bible tell you that the priests go here, then those who are the army. So he was leading the army, but the priest was guiding. And that's why the priests played such an important role. Just like when you remember when they were going to the Jordan River, it was the priest that went, and every time their foot touched the water, the thing divided. But Joshua was there leading the people behind, but it was the priests. And the priests play a very important role in the fall of Jericho and in the fall of the walls within the lives of the people of our nation. I refer to the priests as our pastors. We have to play an important role in how we guide our people, in how we seek to be a part of the supernatural intervention in the lives of people. If the priest backs away and leave it, then we are going to be in problem. So I give God thanks that God have raised up pastors, priests in this country who are the watchmen and who are carrying the leadership.
I really appreciate what you said, sir. Just looking back at Joshua chapter 6, where in verse 9 it says that the armed men went in front of the priests who blew the trumpets, and the rear guard came after the ark while the priests continued to blow the trumpets. So it looks like what you were saying is right about the leader going ahead and establishing the confidence and the faith in what he's going on about. And to me, that sent chills down my spine, that here is this situation where the man.
So Courtney have to go ahead, as the priest over and the head of the St. Catherine, the Portmore Minister's Attorney, and he can't just stay at the background and have to guide it. And we now pray him up and follow. You understand what I mean? If you don't lead, then people will leave. And if you don't lead, people who should follow you will come and they take over leadership. So
and they will lead where they want to go.
Gentlemen, again, thanks for those profound insights. But my question still remains here. In today's society, this whole, I don't like the word story, this whole stating of the fact of what God did for the nation of Israel against a force that was to be reckoned with, who became terrified because of the people of God. Are we as the church, are we as the people of God walking in obedience enough, following the instructions of God enough that even those who are in leadership governing are aware of what God is able, can do? Have we abdicated some of our responsibilities as the people, the Joshuas and the Calebs and the army of God in light of what we just read? That's my question to us right at this point.
May I go ahead, Sir Rattray?
Sure, please.
What comes to my mind is the difference between what happened in chapter 2 and what happened in chapter 7 of Joshua here. In chapter 2, I think that the spies are the witnesses that were sent into Jericho. I don't think it's the same ones that were sent into AI. I can't prove it, but this is my thought. When the ones went into Jericho, they demonstrated a kind of authority and a kind of confidence in how they spoke to Rahab. Remember when they said to Rahab, we will take responsibility for you and anybody in your house, and we will this and we will that, and we will promise you so and so. They were sure and certain of what they were talking about. When I looked at the other set, and in chapter 7, when Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai and said to them, go up and spy out the land. So the men went up and spied out Ai. Then they returned to Joshua and said to him, don't make all the people go up to fight. Have only about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and attack Ai. Don't make the entire army go up there, for they of Ai are few. Clearly, their advice, their consultation, what they come back and say, wasn't accurate versus the guys who went into Jericho. And to answer your question, Sir Courtney, some of us are on the right track, are on the right road, but some of us are not. Some of us are doing what we are supposed to do. Some of us are making every effort. Some of us are turning over the stones, and some of us are climbing down the walls of Jericho to come back and report what we are supposed to do and how we are supposed to do it. Some of us are talking to the harlots, and some of us are ensuring that families and lives are saved. But some of us are not. Some of us are making up numbers, and we are saying things that we really don't know for sure. And I think that is the critical part that we need to address. Whether or not who claim to be leaders and who claim to be righteous, really righteous, who claim to be representing Christ, really represents him. Because too often, who say that they are not. And we need to address that. We need to work at that, in my opinion.
And some are awaiting instructions like the ones that Joshua gave as well, I believe. You know, astounding revelation and information there, Brother Roland Gale. We're coming up on our final break for the program, The Rock. My guests, Evangelist Errol Rattray and Roland Gale. We are talking about the fall of the wall of Jericho, the walls. They must come down, every wall of separation and degradation. What does this mean for us in today's society? Are we showing that same level of obedience that Joshua and the people of Israel did? We're going to come right back after this message, and we're going to just take it away when we get back. Blessings.
Where music is played, copyright owners must be paid. This time signal is brought to you by Jamaica Music Society. The time by Jams is
11:45.
We all trust the traditional home remedies of our parents, especially when they've been passed down through generations. Benjamin's Honey Time captures the same trusted home remedy tradition in a bottle. Get relief from irritating cold symptoms, cough, and sore throat with the warm, comforting taste of honey, rum, and lime. Benjamin's Honey Time, the formula that works with the soothing taste of tradition. Benjamin's, a trusted name for over a century.
Ooh la la.
I see what I want at Phosphate Super Sale, March 18 to 28. Visit us in Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay.
Come get your wires, breakers, chandeliers, flood lamps, LED bulbs, and so much more. You can't afford to miss it.
Come shop. Come save at Phosphate Super Sale, March 18 to 28.
See you there at Phosphate.
Open Sundays.
Get ready for an electrifying and soul-stirring experience. That Entertainment presents Jerusalem on Saturday, March 30 at 6 p.m. at the Ligony Club. Come see African gospel sensation Victor Thompson, along with Rhoda Isabella, Rondell Positive, Jody and Morgan, Island Kings, and Perpetual Praise. Tickets cost $5,000 general, $10,000 VIP, and children under 12, $1,500. Get your tickets now at AITix.com. That's AITIX.com. And Fontana Pharmacies Island-wide. Grab family, friend, even a neighbor, and witness the stage come alive. It's Jerusalem. Sponsored by Love 101, Doorstep JA, Gospel JA, Adams Decor, at Ruby's Energy JA.
Hello? Yes, dear. But just a call for tell him to get the thing.
Nothing says Happy Easter like an Alliance MoneyGram money transfer.
And we get something sweet with it.
Pick up your Alliance MoneyGram money transfer of US $150 or more from March 18 to March 28th and get an Easter bun and cheese while stocks last at select locations.
Happy Easter to you too.
Remember, head to the sweetest location to pick up your MoneyGram money transfer this Easter.
Yes.
A member of the Sagicor Group.
Get ready for another inspiring show this Testimony Tuesdays at Alive, 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. March 26th. Packed with inspirational stories and island-flavored music. 1:45, we bring you the brain testing metasized listener speak edition. Stick around for prayer blast at 2 o'clock as we ring in the prayer bells of heaven. 2:15 inside the evidence, we hear the powerful story of Sister Karen Mead Washington, but you know her better as Sister Ray Ray. Trust me, you can't afford to miss it. Then at 3 p.m., we go behind the pulpit. All the summer will come alive, 1 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. March 26th with me, Sarah, and the Trophy One on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the final segment of the program, The Rock. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison, sitting in for Bishop Steve Errol Blair. And we're talking about the fall of Jericho's wall. My special guest, a man from whom we expect the utmost for the highest, Mr. Roland Gale and Evangelist Errol Rattray are here with us today sharing. And indeed, it has been quite an informative and quite a revelatory experience here on The Rock today about what happened. We spoke about Rahab. We spoke about the Ark of the Covenant, the crossing of the Jordan, the marching around the wall. We also spoke about the lack of obedience by those who were given particular instruction. Yet, the theme is about following the instructions of God and being intentional about what God has to say. Strongholds will come crumbling down. Before we go any further, though, we have 2 voice notes and a comment from someone who said, just want to say thanks for this discussion. This from WhatsApp. Just started reading the book of Joshua. Thank you, Lady Audrey Royce from Canada. And so we bless you. We have a voice note that we may need you gentlemen to comment on. Let's hear that voice note now.
The story of the walls of Jericho simply reminds us that God's wisdom is greater than man's, and the wisdom of man cannot measure up to that of God. And also that the simplest of instructions, if followed by the leaders who God has set above us, then great things can happen. And this not only applies to leadership in society, but leadership in the family.
Excellent comment.
That is right.
Thank you very much. He mentioned something that even those who are put in leadership above us, it's important that they also follow That was from Sir Tomlinson. We thank you, sir, for sharing that. Any comments on it? Any at all, gentlemen?
Yeah, I appreciate what he said, and I agree with him 100%. One of the things he said is just to follow simple instructions, and what came to mind was the leper, the Syrian, was it Syrian, Assyrian, Naaman, who when he went to get his leper secured, and the prophet said to him, go bathe in the river, and he out to carry on and curse, and somebody said, no, something simple, just go do it, man. If we were simply to follow the instructions, the simple instructions, we would be healed, we would be better off, we would be just everything that we ought to be if we just follow God's instructions.
My take on
Thank you
it
indeed,
is
Sir
that
Roland Gale. Thank you, Errol. We're into the phase of your final comments. So we want you to try to keep them within 2 minutes of what
my final
is being
comment
said.
then
So
my final comment is in terms of get the walls down, you ask, I would say that we have to follow God's command. We have to exercise um, courage and confidence in God, and that we have to have a commitment among ourselves, leaders, and as people, a commitment to unity, a commitment to um, believe in the power of God to do what He says He will do, and allow faith to take its place. That we have to go beyond head knowledge, intellectual abilities, and to trust this supernatural God. Although all of these play important role in one's life, but as a nation, as a country, the walls that are there must be torn down. We have to think, we have to really look at the what I call supernatural intervention of God. And if we will follow, and I've just introduced some things that really came out of what God said to Joshua when he took over from Moses. He said, be strong, be courageous, we have good courage. And if you do that, turn not to the right nor to the left, follow the principles of God, then you will conquer. That's the word I want to leave, that we can be successful, we can overcome the walls, but there is a principle that we need to go through. May God bless you and your family during this period, and may you find that the walls that are in your life, if they are in your life, they are not unsurmountable, and God's power can deal with it.
thank you, Sir Errol Ratcher. Sir Roland, your closing arguments on this, the fall of the wall of Jericho, sir.
Wow. What I'm reminded of, is the season that we are in now, and when Christ entered Jerusalem, how it was just awesome praise and worship, and people were just happy, and that reminds me of the crossing of the Jordan. And then they would have come across what appeared to have been now an insurmountable wall, and they just have to act in obedience. And that acting in obedience may require some waiting, and may require that you have to give yourself over to what it is that the Lord requires of you, says you are to do. But the outcome of that is that the walls do come down. And to me, that is the period of waiting that the people would have had to go through while the priests and the armed men marched around the wall. And then they had their moment of participation in shouting praise. The walls came down, and in my thinking now, I'm thinking of when Christ rose from the grave. The week before, there was this triumph. And then during the week, there was this weeping, and there was this major disappointment. And you're wondering to yourself, how am I going to overcome these great walls, these walls that I can't see around? But then within a short space of time. In due time, in God's time, resurrection morning comes, and we are able to experience the fullness of His grace and His mercy. What I would leave with our listeners and with each of us this morning is what the witnesses said to Joshua. The two men turned back, and this is from Joshua chapter 2, and I'm reading from verse 23 from the Amplified Version. It says, Then the two men turned back and came down from the hill country, crossed over the Jordan, and came to Joshua and told him everything that had happened to them. They said to Joshua, Certainly the Lord has given all the land into our hands, for all the inhabitants of the land have melted in despair because of us. We here in Jamaica, we don't have to worry about the inhabitants elsewhere. If we are obedient to the Lord, if we trust the Lord, if we live for the Lord and do what He says, the land is ours. He already gave it into our hands. So we just have to be righteous and follow His commandments.
Amen.
Beautiful.
The Lord's word to Joshua is, I've given you the city. And that stuck out with me because I remember when I was director for Kingston Youth for Christ, that was a theme we had one year. The Lord had given us the city. And I think if we continue to focus on the instructions of the Lord, that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and as the saints of God, we ascribe to what God has declared to us for ourselves in this earth, things will go a long way. Every wall must come down. Indeed, gentlemen, thank you both for being here. This has been The Rock. For information on how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596 or 7. If there's a topic you like for us to discuss, a topic that has the church on different sides of the fence, let us know. Next week, we begin a new season of The Rock. The topic is the Last Supper. Thanks again to Evel Ratcher and Roland Gale for being here, our producer, the great Kathy Gale, and of course, all our listeners and watchers. I am Courtney George Morrison, pastor, handing you back to our studio facilitators, Dr. Nadine Blair. And we just want to say, on The Rock, we don't mock, we don't wrap up. It's not a joke, and when we speak, it's not to be sarcastic or blasphemous. We ask honest questions and bring up all the issues we know you are struggling with. Then go on to the Bible for guidance. At the end of the day, we hope we left you enlightened, informed, and closer to God. The truth is, some of us will and some of us won't, but we're still here to go with you. We'll be back next week for another stimulating discussion. This was The Rock.
Of Jericho must come down.
Hello. This is a reformation thing.
I said the walls, they must come down. The walls of Jericho must come down. I said the walls, they must come down. The walls of Jericho must come down. The walls of oppression and corruption. The walls of poverty that prevent prosperity. The wicked institutions that suppress salvation. The walls of sin and Satanism. I said the walls, they must come down. The walls of Jericho must come down. I said the walls, they must come down. The walls of Jericho must come down. No, Christian, get your trumpet, get your tambourine. Get up off your bed, not one like your dead. Pick up your Bible, pick it up fast. Come on, like Christ, there's victory at last.
Everything possible with a little savings in your hand.
The time by Jam Bank is 12 o'clock.